and welcome. My name is Christina from Empowered Creator. I am a mindset and conscious manifesting teacher and coach, and this is my YouTube channel. Here I talk about all things law of assumption, mindset, conscious manifesting, the quantum universe, and a lot more. And my goal is to simplify everything without the fluff. So if you guys like this content and you would like to see more of it, I would love it if you would subscribe to this channel, comment on this video, like it, share it, and stick around. Also, if you need help with your specific situation, I offer one-on-one coaching as well as custom subliminals for whatever needs you may have. I also have some self-study courses about manifesting your specific person, and I do have a members-only channel with a lot of perks for members, including weekly live workshops with a different manifesting topic each week, weekly live group coaching, a lot of exclusive content, monthly challenges for a chance to win a free one-on-one coaching session with me, and a lot more. So if you're interested in any of these services, the links are below in the description box. Click on them and they're going to take you to my website or to the membership channel. With all that being said, let's dive into today's video. In today's video, I want to relay a personal success story of how I manifested the house that we currently live in with my family, that is my husband and our young son, and how I manifested this by ignoring all the circumstances that were pretty much against us. How I didn't accept these circumstances as our reality, how I did not allow myself to get fazed by what the 3D was seemingly showing at the time, and how that resulted, of course, to the results that I wanted, aka getting this house that we're now living in. So this is what I'll be discussing in today's video. Stay tuned. So I wanted to relay this personal success story today because I wanted it to be an example of how ignoring the circumstances, not giving them power, in other words, whatever the circumstances might be in your reality and in your 3D, can actually result in these circumstances falling away or shifting or not mattering. And it can also result, obviously, in you getting what you wanted in the first place. So this story happened about 4.5 years ago now. It was right around the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. We had moved from California to Colorado, where we still are and we still live, and we were looking for a new home. We had certain specific criteria. We had a dream list, and the dream list was the vicinity to my husband's work at the time. We wanted it to be a very quiet property. We ideally wanted great views. We ideally wanted a very certain specific location that was actually in a very good school district. We wanted a house that was what they call here in the US ranch-style home. What that means is that we didn't want to have too many stories. That was a personal preference because we didn't want to have many stairs to go up and down in the house. And also coming from California, we were also used to these kinds of houses. We also wanted the property and a lot that was private. And we wanted all of that within budget. The problem was, or at least what the 3D was showing us the problem to be, was that in the area that we were looking at, it was a very specific area. It wasn't a very large area, not a very broad one. All the houses that were available were not in budget. They were above budget. On top of that, in the area of Colorado where we live, it is very, very difficult to find ranch-style homes like the one we were ideally looking for, because most of them tend to be newer constructions, and newer constructions tend to have smaller lots, and so the builders put in more stories. The other thing that we realized as we started house hunting and going around and seeing different houses was that the way properties are structured here and the way properties are built, there isn't so much privacy here. In other words, it is very, very common in the area where we're at to be able to look into the neighbor's backyard and then into the next neighbor's backyard. And long story short, it can be a case where you're in your own backyard and then you can be looking into 5 other people's backyards, 5 other houses' backyards. And of course, that wasn't ideal for us. We absolutely wanted privacy. So you see then, all the circumstances that we were facing, we were looking in a specific area. The type of house we wanted was not exactly available here. There were very, very few houses available in the style that we wanted. Privacy was kind of non-existent pretty much everywhere in the area we were looking. Everything was also above budget. So as you see, we had multiple factors seemingly working against us and seemingly being against that dream list that we had that we really, really wanted. Of course, me knowing the law and practicing the law did not let those seeming perceived circumstances faze me. I stayed true in my mind to the vision of that dream list that we had. I kept trusting that somehow, in some way, things would work out to get us into a house that would be exactly how we wanted it. I knew the circumstances. I wasn't fooling myself or lying to myself that they weren't there, but somehow I kept the trust and the faith in me that somehow they wouldn't matter. Somehow we would be able to circumvent them. Somehow, one way or another, we would still be able to have our dream home regardless. And the way this home that ticked all the boxes in that dream list came about is nothing short of an amazing, miraculous event for some people, bridge of incidents and bridge of events. Because at first, we went and made an offer for another house that filled some of the criteria, but not all of them. But then, when we later did the home inspection, we found some serious issues with the house, and we decided to pull out from that sale. So we didn't end up buying the first house that we thought that we were going to buy. Then what happened was that we had an appointment with a real estate agent to view, if I remember right, 3 or 4 properties in one evening. And most of them in the area in which we live were by appointment. And one of the owners ended up canceling the appointment. For some reason, they couldn't make it, they couldn't be there, or they didn't want us to be there that evening. Maybe they had something else going on. I don't know. But they ended up canceling the appointment. So our real estate agent said, well, why don't we find another property to look at? Just because we're going to be out there looking for houses, looking at properties, so why not replace the one that was canceled with another property? And she actually sent us a link to a house that she thought might fit the criteria. We didn't end up liking that listing very much. It was, if I remember right, kind of far away from where we wanted to be. So we said, why don't we go to that property instead? And that property, here's the interesting part, had come up in our searches for weeks. Time and time and time and time again. And the reason why we had passed it and we hadn't gone in to look at it was because in the pictures, it looked like it was going to be a huge project. And we didn't want a huge project. We weren't opposed to doing a few cosmetic changes here and there, but we didn't want anything that looked like a huge project. And so that property, which was in our desired area and was within budget, we had passed on it over and over and over again. But because the appointment on another property got canceled, we said, oh, what the heck? Let's just go and look at that. It keeps coming up in our searches. Let's just go and look at it. So that's what we did. It was one of the 3 or 4 properties that we saw that evening. And I believe it was the last one we saw that evening. And as we walked into the door, we realized that it was nothing like the huge project we thought it looked like in the pictures. It was just that the real estate agent of the owner of the house had done a really, really bad job, you guys, taking pictures of this property. And in person, it looked so much better than it looked in the pictures, which if any of you have been in the house hunting process, you know that usually it's the opposite. Usually they look much better in the pictures, and then you go in person and you're like, okay, that didn't show in the picture, or they staged that to look so much more spacious than it is, that kind of stuff. In this case, the pictures weren't actually doing the house justice, and we realized that it wasn't the big project that we thought it was going to be. It did have some cosmetic changes that we would like to make, but we were fine with that. And get this, it ticked all the boxes. It was in the exact area we wanted. It was in a cul-de-sac, so it was super, super quiet like we wanted. It was actually at the top of kind of a hilly area. So even though we were able to look into some of the neighbors' backyards, no one was able to look into our backyard, so it gave us the privacy that we were looking for. It was a ranch-style house, the absolutely only ranch-style house over multiple blocks in that area and in that neighborhood. And it was also in budget because, like I said, the real estate agent had done such a poor job with the pictures that not very many people were going in to look at the property. So it had sat on the market for something like 3 or 4 months at that time, and they had lowered the price multiple times, and that had brought it within our budget. And so you know what happened, you guys? We submitted an offer the very next morning. The offer got accepted, everything checked out, and we found ourselves in a home that ticked all the boxes in our dream list, even though all the external circumstances, the entire 3D, was showing us for quite a while, for several weeks while we were looking, that there was nothing, no property out there that could fit all of our criteria. And so this was the amazing and incredible story and the amazing and incredible bridge of incidents that brought us to our house, where we still are some 4.5 years later. And so I wanted this story to serve as an illustration to all of you guys of how, when you don't give power to the circumstances, when you keep your eyes to your vision, when you tell yourself that I have faith and I trust in the process anyway, even if the 3D is showing me otherwise, even if the external conditions are all against me, seemingly against me, that's the key, I am still going to persist in my vision, I am still going to persist in what I desire, and I know that in the end, in some way or other, somehow, I'm going to get it. This is what happened here, and this is why I wanted to tell this story. This applies to any and all manifestations, any and all desires, as well as any and all circumstances. If you don't give power to the circumstances, you guys, they are not going to matter. If you don't give them power and attention, if you don't start considering them as insurmountable or as super difficult or as super hard, they're not going to be insurmountable or super difficult or super hard. And you are still going to get exactly what you wanted all along. With all that being said, I'm going to wrap up this video here. I intend that this has helped. As always, I very much appreciate you guys being on this channel, watching this content. I love making this content for you. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all at the next video. Until then, take care and bye-bye.